Well, this might be the shortest video ever, but this is basically just to show one of my clients the good and the bad and the ugly. Okay, and it's 20 horse Mercury. This is in excellent shape here. This is the shift shaft, and I'll get to why this is the way it is for those of you that don't know the story. But this shaft got pulled out, and there is an E-clip that goes right there, and this was jammed into the midsection, improperly splined, and so when the guy tried to pull it apart, because he tried to force it together, which you don't force gear cases on, and so when he tried to pull it apart, it broke the E-clip. That fell into the bottom of the gear case. This shaft came out. This component here fell off in the bottom of the nose of the gear case, which I'll show you what that is in a minute. And bad things happened. So my client got this motor this way, so it wasn't his fault. Okay. I pulled the water pump housing out, and you can see the base for the water pump housing, the top part, gasket, and there's another gasket that goes under here too to the base, which I cleaned up. Water pump is completely cooked. It's extremely distorted, for one thing, and it's taken a set, as they say. So this is supposed to be sticking straight out, and it's all curved over and all curlied up, and she's toast. So there's that. Let's see, moving on to other problems. So there's that cobble job fuel system. The fuel system was horribly cobbled on this thing too, so that was bad. This bearing, I think this bearing is rusty and crusty and nasty. Everything, all the bearings in the gear case were rusty. Some of which I've managed to save, I think. This one here, this is the reverse gear, and this one here sounds pretty good. Minor amount of noise. This one was horrible, and I dipped it in the deruster for a couple of hours, and of course it looks just like brand new, but it's still loud. But if I dip it for a few more hours, and it's got gear oil in it, I think this, because it really runs free now, I'm quite positive this would run for a very long time. So this one here, this bearing here is good. So I think we could make this all work, you know, new seal kit and all that stuff. So that's that part. Okay. Then we get to the gear case, which the gear case has got just oodles of problems, and I absolutely detest this slicey, dicey son of a... I cut myself a couple times on this thing. Okay, so what this is, or what it was sold for or made for, is to cut fish line that gets wound up around your prop, or weeds, or whatever. Anything that gets caught on your prop, it'll cut it, and so on there. Well, you know what? This is a ridiculous amount of drag in the water. It's going to create a cavitation, air bubbles coming over this, and cause the motor to cavitate every time you try to turn right. It's going to go boing and blow out of the water. So this just needs to get cut off here if we're going to use this case. I prefer not to, and I will show you why. The inside of the case isn't half bad, but I don't know if you can get the light just right. You can still see some gear oil in the bottom. Actually, it's parts washer solvent, but it's really rusty in the front. I've cleaned this and cleaned this and cleaned this, and it still needs to be cleaned more. We're going to go down here. This is the main problem, where the shift shaft and the seal goes in this, because there's no ring at the bottom of the seal, and then someone had over tightened this immensely, which if you do that, it'll blow this side out because it's too much. This snug is good enough, because you're just going to hold the seal in there from, it doesn't have any stress on it. The shaft turns, like this. So for forward and reverse. So that was a waste of time. Also, I fished half the E-clip, which I guess I'll have to show you that too. I forgot, out of there. But this case is just trash. It's broken on this side, and it's because something got sucked into it and whatever, or dropped, or whatever the case may be. It's just a piece of garbage, in my personal opinion. I wouldn't even run it. If I had to run it, I would, but I'd cut that goddamn thing off there first off, and I would use some body plastic or something and fix the cavitation plate, which I've already talked to him about. He's super cool about everything. But we're going to try to find a better gear case to start with. I think it's money well spent if we can get a good used gear case. Let's see in this pile of stuff. Well, here's a chunk of the case that I just showed you. There's a chunk of it that's broken off that was laying in there. So there's that. And where's the other part I was thinking about? The tools are a mess. Oh, the E-clip right there. So that's as much as I found of the E-clip. So I don't know where that other little piece went. It could have got washed away, or it could. It's just not in there. I mean, I fished that out, so I don't know where it went. And it can't go all the way down into the case, so I don't know. It should have been in there, unless it's wedged in there someplace and my magnet can't catch it. Which could be, but again, this is a shift shaft. And like I said, these, let's see, this end is easier to see. You can see these splines. These have to line up properly. There's no just put it anywhere thing. It has to line up exactly the way this is cut. If you don't get it lined perfectly, try again. Because roughly just put the gear case in neutral and put the shift selector in neutral and move the shift selector slightly as you're trying to push the gear case up, and it will probably be fine. But do not cram them in there. You don't have to. I put these things on with one hand all the time. Now, I've had to take, because the fuel system was also cobbled to death with something off of a really old Merc, and it was just wrong. And I can see why they did it, because you can see a bolt snapped off there by my finger. There's supposed to be 2 bolts that go down through to hold a piece similar to this. This is not the correct part. This is just something I had laying in a shop to make up a mocked up fuel system to see if the carb leaked and see what else is going on. This motor does have excellent compression, and I'm probably going to try to start it briefly. You can run these without water, just briefly, okay? With no gear case on them. You can run them just briefly. We're talking like 60 or less than 60 seconds, you know. Just fire them up to make sure they run and shut them off, and you're done. So I'm probably going to try to make a video of that for him. If I'm going to see if this thing's going to start first, and then I'll make a quick video, because he didn't know if this was any good or not, and frankly, neither do I. Other than it's got good compression, doesn't leak gas, it has spark, it's a 2-stroke. Those are the combinations you need to make stuff go vroom. All right, I'm going to get off of here quick, and I'll be back. So, after a mystery no spark scenario came about, which I'm still not quite positive how we can have no spark, and today I come to work and it has spark miraculously out of the blue. There is something I think that's loose underneath the flywheel that really needs some attention, so this is probably going to come apart, but let's make outboard noises. definitely needs some things looked at underneath the flywheel, because the advance isn't doing what it's supposed to. So, but it runs. So there's that. So this is just a closing video on this 20 horse Mercury here. This rusty bearing is pretty much, it still sounds a little loud, but it doesn't feel rough. So I'm sure if it's in gear lube, it'll be fine. You know, they're both quite similar, you know, in sound. So that's just the noise the bearings are going to make when they're in there. But you put oil in them and they'd be quiet. So I think these will be fine. I think we're going to call these saved. Obviously this one is super quiet because it has oil in it. So these do not. So there's some other things here. This bearing is not in very good shape. And I'm going to briefly dip it just to, I can't have it in the acid very long, but I'm going to briefly dip it to make sure that these are all doing bearing things. I think they are. I can feel them moving in my finger, and they don't sound noisy on the shaft. I tried that, and they sound fine on the shaft. So we're going to say that those are probably going to be okay. But a new prop shaft seal would be a good idea. Just saying, whoever's they're going to have to take this apart again anyway. To get a new case. But the guts of the case are the key. You know, the gears, having good dogs, you know, the shift dog, and where are you? That guy. That's in good shape. You know, the forward gear, or wait, hold it. Forward gear is in excellent shape. The reverse gear, or excuse me, this is the forward gear. What am I talking about? This is a forward gear, and it's in excellent shape, and the teeth are in good shape there. This is the reverse gear, and these teeth are good too, and so is the dog. So that's a win. Pinion gear is in good shape with zero wear there, and the shaft is good. Disc bearing good. So there's a lot of good components here. Okay, a lot of good stuff. I don't have a gasket for this, so it's going to be going back together without one and just barely pushed on there far enough to get this in. And this is your fresh water inlet piece, like if you're going to put a garden hose on and run it. And there's the piece for that. It goes inside of the case. So all this stuff's just going to get put back together per John's instruction, and we're going to touch base on the power head real quick. Okay, it's missing the proper fuel inlet. Come on, camera. Wake up. So this gas line is just going to get stuffed in here. In the general area, this is completely wrong in 100 different levels. This crap shouldn't be there. This whole fuel line needs to be replaced. Does have spark, as you heard the motor run. So it will run. It's got excellent compression. So I'm going to put these back in. And so there's good and bad. Okay, this is a long shaft, so it's a pretty desirable motor to have as far as that goes. But as luck would have it, as they say, I went on Facebook looking around to find something better for John and ran into this gentleman named Joe, who I might add instantly became a subscriber, so thank you, sir. Anyway, so I got a deal going with a different 20 horse Mercury. It's a short shaft, and my guy restored his boat, so John, he restored his boat so he can cut it back down to short shaft to make it work, because the motor was a very, very nice, well-kept, well-maintained 20 horse Merc. So as far as this case goes, I'm calling this junk because of this and this and this. So I'm just going to put it all back together so all the pieces stay in one spot, roughly. That's the only reason for putting this back together. Otherwise, I'd put them in a bucket, you know, or salvage it out or whatever. I don't have time to mess with this small outboard stuff, and I am only doing this for John because he's a friend, and so that's the end of that. But he's going to put this motor up for sale for a couple $100 for a fixer-upper, and it's worth fixing. If a guy had another short shaft gear case and just wanted to switch out the drive shaft, the long drive shaft, and the long shift shaft, then he would be in excellent shape. So I'm going to throw all this back together, put it all back together. I'll keep the gear case off the motor separate because that needs to have some things done to it. So let's say you have a bad gear case, or bad gears or bad shift dogs or whatever. It's just the good case, but the guts are crap. Well, there's the good guts. So for this one, so if a guy's handy and he likes to play with these, this is a good deal. You'll probably find this motor on Facebook sometime next week. So in closing, special thanks to John for bringing this to the shop and giving me the opportunity to do some work for him. Didn't really spend a lot of time on it. Kept things fairly inexpensive for him so he wouldn't have national debt in a motor that wasn't going to work out for him. The second thing is special thanks to Joe for stepping up and be the man of the hour, having a excellent 20-horse Mercury for John. They're getting together on Saturday, and everything's going to fall together just like it should. So this story turned out really well. So a lot of promise in this thing. I was pretty happy with the fact that it cackled really well when it ran, and that's a really great power head. So if someone needed a power head, it's still worth the $200 you're going to pay for the motor. So that's why I suggested John put it up for us, $200. So anyway, closure, pieces. Moving on. If you like this stuff, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.